Hi, Mark Robertson, back with you here talking about my book, Carrying Lawn Chairs, Youth Sports and Other Parental Mindsets. We covered a lot. We are making our way through the book. We're getting near the end of the book. The first part, we talked about parents and organized youth sports specifically, and all the problems I have with it, and how I don't think there's solutions to most of those problems. And I wouldn't even put a very young child, into organized youth sports. I think it's crazy. It's a crazy scene. I'm not against sports. I'm not against older kids playing organized sports, but very young kids in organized sports, anything before 10, if you ask me, maybe even 12. I think it's at very least pointless, and it's harmful. It gets in the way of natural play. It's just not a good scene. It's not good for the kids. The kids don't enjoy it. It's all about the parents. But the second part of the book, I talk about the parent-child dynamic in many other ways. We've covered a number of topics. Our last segment was on the family. And today, the topic of the chapter is faith. And from what I've seen and observed and read, it seems that children have a natural propensity to believe in God when they're very young. It's just a normal thing for them, and that they lose this over time. It's nothing that they gain. Now, not that it doesn't have to be nurtured and encouraged and things like this, but children seem to have a natural belief in God. They seem to have a knowing beyond what they are taught. And it's really miraculous, actually. It just almost is like a proof of God, that to see in a child believe in God and loving going to church and having a respect for the sacredness of God. And it's a natural thing to them. Unfortunately, a lot of young people lose this over time. And if they're not nurtured, or if the parents don't watch who they're influenced by, and parents contribute to this decline as well. If they don't practice their faith, it's a good bet that the child will not practice their faith. There are some exceptions. If a child has another influence in their life, they may go in the opposite direction of the parents and become even more faithful. But that's rare. That's not the normal thing. Most of the time, kids follow what their parents do, the example they give, in so many ways, not just religion, but in so many ways. The parents, by their example, are a major factor in raising their child, and the faith has to be nurtured. And so keeping the faith in God would help avoid a lot of agony in the lives of young people. So many young people are troubled. You hear about the suicides and all of this. And no, I don't have the answers for everything, but I know all these, like mass shootings and things like that, God is not in the lives of these young people, these very extremely troubled young people. And they're not looking at themselves as a true gift from God, their true talents from God. They've been probably ridiculed and told how bad they are over time. Like I say, I don't know all the answers, but it's not that God is harming them. God is not in their lives. It's a major problem, and God is not in the lives of these mass shooters or kids who commit suicide. And it's just they get off on the wrong track. They go to these government schools. There's no God there. God was taken out of government schools insanely and unconstitutionally. And what was brought in? Birth control, sex education. It's a form of control. And all this other nonsense these kids learn in schools. And they learn that all transgenderism is okay. So they really get confused and lost, and there's no right and wrong, and they really get on the wrong path of confusion. So they need God. They need strong parents. They need God. I'm of the Catholic faith, and I've often gone to a First Communion. I received my First Communion, but it's amazing. These young kids in second grade usually, they get their First Communion. They're all so reverent, holy, innocent. It's there with their hands folded. It's such a beautiful scene, and it would be so wonderful if they could keep that sense of awe and wonder about God and sacredness of God throughout their lives. But unfortunately, many do lose that along the way, and there are many forces, including schools, even like I said, religious schools don't encourage and nurture as they have in the past. Some of them have gone in a direction that's not good either. And bad things enter the vacuum. If young people lose God, something fills it up. They'll get all kinds of trouble out there. Obviously, we know about that, the drugs, the sexual promiscuity, and all that. It fills the vacuum. They think it fills the vacuum. It doesn't. But young people do need God. Families need faith. The famous priest, Father Peyton, said, "A family that prays together stays together." And so he was way back from the 60s and the 50s. That's kind of gone out of style as well. But families don't do much together. We talked about that in the family section. But family prayer is not a lot of families. I don't even know what a percentage it is. But the families that pray together, I would say less than 10%, if I had to guess. I don't have stats on that, but it still seems the country has faith. A number of people believe in God, a high percentage, although that is going down as well. But the active faith, the encouraging of the faith to kids, it's just not a good scene. And then they go to grade school, and then they go to high school. And if they go to public high school, you're going to lose a lot of your faith there. But then they go to college. Oh my gosh! If they hadn't lost their faith yet, college usually does that, unless the kids are very steeped in their religion and faith. Even schools that call themselves Catholic aren't really much Catholic anymore. There's a few exceptions, Benedictine in Atchison, Kansas, and a few others, but it's not about the faith. They're secularized like nearly all the other public colleges in the country. And there are a few exceptions, like I say. There's Hillsdale College, Benedictine, and a few others that are strong colleges that teach morality and things like this. But so many times these kids go to these colleges, they're indoctrinated by these crazy left-wing professors by design, and the parents pay big money for that, or the kids do, or somehow they get a scholarship or something. But anyway, you're talking 30, 40, 50, 60,000 a year for this indoctrination. And what do they come out with? A degree in Russian history or literature, or something that they can't even use. Now, there are exceptions. I know you've got to go to college to learn something, an engineer, something specific like that. But even there, we're kind of getting a little off the subject here, but college needs a major revolution as well, because kids lose their faith at college in an alarming rates. And those are the ones that have it before they go. That's a small percentage, even that. And then the college just finishes off the job. So we're kind of in a direction in this country that's not good. Faith is declining. Faith in God is declining. And that can't be good. Throughout history, the countries that lose faith in God are countries that are taken over by tyrants. That's the first thing they want to get rid of, is God and the churches. And because they know they're a major obstacle to their tyranny, to their fraud, to their brainwashing, to everything else. The churches, they go after them, they tear them down. It's even today, you got places like China that basically doesn't allow freedom of religion, and of course the other places, North Korea and things like that. But the tyrants can't stand religion. They know it's not good for their tyranny to control people, because people who are steeped in their faith and have strong faith, they're very hard to control. Naturally, they'll usually have a strong family as well, and families are a major obstacle to the tyrants. So if young people keep the faith, our world would be a much better place. I mean, I can't think of, yes, naturally, there's all kinds of bad things happening in churches these days, and of course the media runs with it. Any incident, they'll take it way out of proportion, because largely the media is anti-God as well. So but no society, in my opinion, can survive without God, a faith in God. That has to be the foundation, as our great founders knew. They all spoke of God. I mean, you also hear brainwashing on that the founders were basically deist or agnostic or whatever. Not the case. They all had strong belief in God, and God was a foundation of our country, and it always has been. And if we lose that, and there are many forces trying to kick God out of the country, like they kicked him out of the schools, that's about it for our country. It's the glue that holds us together, faith and family, and that's where it holds the country together and holds society together. And there are so many assaults on both of those right now that we have to stand up and be strong against them, and protect our families and our faith, and to keep our society going and keep it strong. And thank you for joining us again today, and we will talk to you next time.